Hello, everybody. Hi, this is Dr. Rao. Found some time. So, how have you been? How have you been? All of you going good? And I hope everything is going well. I found some time, so I thought I'll come and chat with you. And I was feeling a question by somebody. What do you think do the ancients had a better evolution as human beings inside versus the modern people, or we have become so outwardly oriented about our things, our technology, our comforts, and all that, we kind of forgot the inner dimension. And I have to say, the ancient had a better grasp of the inner dimension, and they are much more evolution wise, they were much ahead than us. That's why they were peaceful bunch. They were not neurotic like we are now, and they had experienced a joyful life. You know, so it's more like our own good things are turning against us. The intellectual assessment of things and building things for making our life comfortable, and our sensory indulgences, they kind of acting as impediments for our inner growth. You know, once we understand or use them properly and turn our energy properly towards the inner development, I think we will solve so many problems for us, health wise, um, planet wise, or uh, harmony of people, lack of wars, and all that. So they always talked about don't employ your intellect and senses which are outgoing to really study your inner activities of thoughts, feelings, concepts, whatever we have. Don't live in that world, but rather calm that world. Then you will find your real peaceful, joyful, blissful happiness within. That they call Satchit Anand in Sanskrit. Existence, that we exist and we are conscious and we are also blissful, right? That kind of existence, conscious being, and blissful being is really us, and our body and minds are tools for that inner being. You know, that was their conclusion, and that is where they lived most of the time. So they call that Antharmukha Chidambaram. Antharmukha means turning inward. Chit Ambara means there is a special room within our inner self. There you find this Sat Chit Anand. That's existence, consciousness, and bliss. They all roll into one, but different terms to describe different states. Uh, I really think we should take a leaf from them and really re-examine our state of affairs as a humanity, as one human tribe, and see what we are doing to the nature, what we are doing to each other, what we are doing to ourselves, by really neglecting our inner self. That's my life's work anyway. So more than the degrees I had, whatever degrees they have, number of them, more than that, this education about inner self, I value and cherish and respect a lot. You know, in that way, I value the ancient people who turned inward with intuition and spent their days in meditative awareness. Those people I really value more than even scientists like me and all that. Because we don't deal with how to make our life comfortable. Hi, Cecilia. Welcome.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
fantastic too.
Yeah,
I agree with a lot of what you're saying.
yeah,
As far you know, I think that the internet and all of these like social media apps were created maybe with the thoughts of like bringing us together, like more connection, and maybe it has had the opposite effect. But also, you know, we can't forget that we have a choice in how we use these things, right? Like for me, it
yeah,
has been very productive. It
yeah,
has, I don't even know how I would be on this path if it wasn't
yeah,
for the internet. Like
yeah,
I have learned so much from, and when I said I was ready to do things differently, so many
yeah,
things came my way. And I have to say, through the internet,
yeah,
between coaching programs, meditation, on so many things, and of
yeah.
course, live in person too. But during the pandemic, I say it was like one of my most productive years as far as growth.
Mm.
And it was because I found so many programs and things that I invested in during the pandemic
Yeah.
on the internet.
You
So we
see,
get to choose how we use these things,
yeah, but these are all comforts, that improve our life, but doesn't solve the problems of our life. The divided people, the discriminating people, the valuing so much according to the tribes and according to the divisions and all that.
Hmm.
Poverty, inequality of the riches. Even in America,
Hmm.
only few families control the 95% of the wealth. Rest of them we are kind of, like laboring away. Our lives.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I definitely understand that
yeah.
too, but I also know that like I cannot change the entire world, right? But if I
Oh no, no, that's
do,
that's
I
where
can
it.
change
No,
the
look at
things
this way.
like or
Look
see
at
things
this.
differently in me.
Look at
Mm-hmm.
this way. One person changes, everything
Mm-hmm.
starts from there. Look at this moms.
Yeah.
Moms for the mad. They say drunk and driving people. Moms against drunk and driver. Uh,
Right.
any legislation takes this area. It starts with one person, and
Yeah.
then he inspires or she inspires, and then it kind of takes on. So we need to understand all that. For
Yeah.
example, if Hitler was the one who is one person, but he
We
evoked lots of hatred and divisions, and then he led to the World War, that kind of
yeah.
thing. So uh, if you really take it, the yeah, I'm letting you come up again, Cecilia. So if you take it like that, only one person can change at a time, and we could be the nucleus of that. Not that we have a mission to change, but we can only change ourselves, and then that may rub on somebody else, right?
Yeah.
So you started something like, I'm going to celebrate people, I'm going to celebrate their wins, and that you started with that, and then it has prescribed, and people are all coming as a safe haven. Let me go there
Mm-hmm.
and let me be appreciated. I also appreciate other people. It's kind of growing camaraderie,
Mm-hmm.
friendship and affection for people, and also kind of connection, right? So the same thing
Mm-hmm.
with for example, we have this NATO, okay, non-alliance nations, right? They were there, so a lot of these countries are clubbed together, and they are forming a resistance against countries like Russia, China, and other things. Otherwise, they have this tendencies of being dictators, and then they want us to rob their freedoms, right? So it's always how we are humans are really changing our internal selves, and then
Yes.
facing that. One person may be very courageous, that's why he has to come and tell her, but then he can only work with himself, and then he
Mm-hmm.
be an example to other people. It's not like a propaganda. It's not like saying, oh, you all guys are do it. Then nobody will listen to you. You got to live it, live the change that you want.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
and then this is exposed very deeply in the consciousness movement, Cecilia, because
Uh-huh.
many of the modern world populations now that they don't want to touch the field of consciousness, you know.
Right.
But if you look at the ancient cultures, ancient thing, they all have this commonality, oneness of the consciousness. In that consciousness we have bodies and minds, you know. But once you understand that how you feel pain, how you feel pain in qualitatively the same. Suppose you get hurt, there's the same quality. It may be higher or lower according to your, you know, circumstances.
Pain threshold, right?
Yeah, but how you get hurt and I get hurt, but qualitatively is the same. Fear, for
Right.
example, how we afraid of something else. So that way, in the consciousness, in the internal real, that is the specialty about us is we as human beings can reflect on the past or on the future, and also
Yes,
go
yes,
there
love
and
it.
see.
I'll keep listening, Dr. Rao. I'm dropping
Yeah,
out. I'll keep listening.
sure.
Thank you.
So it is kind of the change coming from one person will be the catalyst for other people. You know, even our laws making, if you take all the legislations that are passing, they start with one woman, one man, and they kind of perceive this is wrong, this is injustice, and they have a system of democracy where they want to go and express, and that also evolved like an experiment, right? All people, all sorts of nationalities come here, and it's a conglomeration of freedom and democracy, right? And that's all started with a few people thinking about it, right? And then you change yourself. It's not a question of just talking about it, but it is becoming maybe clarity has to be there, maybe articulation has to be there of the problem, and also making people realize this is not going to be allowed to continue. Otherwise, it is going to really do a lot of harm to us down the line, you know. But generally, if you take it, you take the ancient cultures, they ask deeper questions. It's not about just living and having comforts and experiencing these pleasures and whatever. That's not that important for them. That's why they said we're going to live simply outwardly. We're not going to be complicated about it. I'm not going to have so many cars, but I'll have only one simple car, right? Like that. That simplicity is lacking. And now life is about all the things, everything outside, and that has become a complicated picture. People have to have so much of money, and that's why they are going to go and work so much. They work very hard, and then meanwhile they lost themselves. They never know who they are. See, that is the difference between the ancients and us is, see, obviously, if you have all the things and you don't feel good inside, you feel rotten because you are insulted, you are not respected, you don't have any friends, you don't have anybody to love you, or you loving them. That becomes very dry as human beings, right? Like we are friends here, we come and share, and we come and enjoy each other company, and that's nice, right? But before they used to do within small villages, within families and all that, right? But now the families have become nuclear families. That's why people feel isolated from their real families who love them. Maybe they have to move to the faraway places for employment and all that, right? And then they don't have the joy of life, enjoying company of their loved ones and staying with them and doing. See, we saw phases when we lived in the house till we completed our education completely, and also we kind of kept the touch with the family all the time, you know. So that flavor, that joy of living with our close ones, that is kind of gone. See, so it is a question of what is the emphasis on outward things or inward things. I say first to make yourself inwardly harmonious, inwardly healthy, inwardly joyful. You don't have physical illness or mental illness, and you don't have anything against the society, but rather you kind of enjoy the company of people and accept them for what they are. And that kind of harmony within you and within outside you is the one that really gives that atmosphere where you can enjoy your meal, you can enjoy a few things and all that. But we made the reverse. We want all comforts, everything at the cost of other people also outwardly. And that's why there is so much inequality of the riches. So little is available for people. People have to spend 40, 60 years just working for the livelihood and never have this chance of turning inward and reflecting and finding out of themselves. See, Bill Gates himself, he said something interesting one time. He said, all this capitalism, all this technology is not going to solve the poverty of the world. And that's his after he was spending so many billions on world welfare. He was going into Africa, Asia, South America, Latin America, and all that. And he was trying to uh, fight the malaria. He was trying to find the vaccine non-accessibility. So you want to provide so many vaccines and all. So he was saying so many cultures, so many places where there is stark poverty is there, where people are not really having any food 3 times a day. They can only eat 1 time a day. So once he saw all that, he said this mass poverty, this mass inequalities, they are not going to be solved by technology, or they're not going to be solved by just us thinking that we are going to be very comfortable in our country and we're going to use 25% of the resources of the world. Only 5% of the population of the world is enjoying 25% of the resources. Rest of them also having the other things, right? So that is not really going to solve. But when you have empathy, when you have really compassion to the people living in Sudan, for example. Right now, what's going on is there's a famine going on because of the violence that they have. So those are our same country people, but they are dividing themselves because inwardly they feel they are all different. That is where ancients identified the whole human tribe, along with the plants and animals, are in one whole. Now, physics is saying that we are all one energy. In that energy, we are all there. So, once we have that, that means in our mind, we don't have these divisions. We don't identify with this division. Then you have harmony within yourself with everybody. Okay, you feel it. You do it. If you want to go and help people, that's fine. But otherwise, you just want to not to avoid this feelings of division within you. That's such a peaceful condition. So I really submit this case where yesteryears in many countries, it's not just Asia, it's not just Japan, it's not just Egypt, it's not just uh, Africa. These are all old world cultures, right? All these cultures, if you examine them, I know about India mostly, that's why I talk about it, but I also know about many of the ancient cultures coming from thousands of years ago. They have the same components. Maybe different way they exploded. Okay, that is different. But essentially, they are turning inward and looking at their thoughts, looking at their feelings, look at the whatever concepts they have about things, and then the cultures grew and tried to accept each other, then there is harmony in the world. But then cultures are not accepting, like this, Israel and the Palestinians. I've been seeing them warring ever since I was a child. So you can see that, ever since I was maybe 10 years old, I began to read big newspapers at the time, and I was very interested in the editorials, and they were telling me what the world is like, and then they were giving me facts about all that is going on. So I know in 60s they started these wars, and then they have been fighting with it ever since. And then the whole world is getting to be dragged into that. That's all because they are not able to transcend that mind which tells them Israel is different, Palestine is different. For me, they're all human beings and they are killing each other. So if only they can transcend the division, see, then only they can try settle this problem. Otherwise, They have been warring at this for how many 60, 70 years maybe, as even as far as I know about it. So how did the ancient did this was one fundamental difference between them and us is they had a silent mind. They deliberately cultivated silent mind. you know they wanted to sit down and go beyond this chattering mind and stay in the thoughtless state of awareness and examine the world without any identification that this is my family or my country or anything like that. They were thinking about the entire world, human tribe, and then how the human built inside. What is that consciousness? How does it come out? What is the mind that gives us memory and imagination has become the problem for us because a lot of people think too much, and they really get caught in the past or the future, and they never know what's going on here and now. So what the ancients did was they turned inward with intuition, not the outgoing intellect or senses, right? And so they were able to settle the mind to a state of thoughtlessness. And not that they are not thinking deeply, they are thinking, but then it doesn't go wherever it wants. So that is something I could say very emphatically when you get to that samadhi, they call it in yoga, where you are sitting aware, but you are not asleep, yet your mind is not churning continuously. That thoughtless awareness state which is alert and then think if he wants to, otherwise is quiet, is a real blessing. That much I can tell. And that can be understood, that can be strived for, and that can be practiced and then stay in that for most of the day, except when you are working on all that. Because that is not there, that silent mind, the stillness of mind, the quietness of mind was not there. People are going bonkers. They come stressed out, they become burnout, they become so angry with other people, and then they kind of suffer from the anger, from the so many qualities of the mind, right? So mind can be your friend by when you make it calm and quiet, or it could be your enemy when you make it the other way, right? So many people have the problem, especially the so-called intellectuals. They don't realize they are limiting themselves to only intellect when they have much deeper intuition that they can work with. You know, take for example, a mother has a children, and then she has tremendous intuition to guide her what is good for her children, what is not, and then act from there. You know, then we say, oh, she is fantastic, she is divine law. But any human being who has the nurturing spirit can have that intuitive knowledge about themselves, right? So ancients turned inward. By calming their mind, they were able to go beyond the mind and touch that state which is harmonious, blissful silence, right? And that is missing in modern world, especially now with all this. Okay, the internet is there, the social media is there, you can call, but how many people are really getting rid of the inner turbulence, inner lack of peace, inner lack of joy? So if you look at that, people may have pleasures. Maybe they are okay, they are seeing the movie. But once the movie is done, they're coming out, they are in the same trouble, right? So I see this all the time, because if you have somebody has a diagnosis of something illness, and they go bonkers, imagining all sorts of things about it. I have to tell them, take it one day at a time, take it one point at a time. Don't let your mind take you deeper into this fear, anxiety, and all that. Then you are living in a modern world where a lot of things we can find out, and maybe we can treat everything, but at least we can provide you comfort and all that. So the approach to illness is changed by me from my patient by really asking them have the quality of life here and now and live whatever time you spend with it nicely. Don't make your mind make it worse. Don't think on it. Don't go on overthinking on the problem. A lot of people do that. That's what I tell them. Okay, just celebrate whatever is it. Like Cecilia was talking about kudos. Just kudos to you about your own things. That's a good habit. I'm glad she does that every day with a lot of people. But then they can do it for themselves too when they are not in that room and all that. Okay, but looking at the positive picture of the life, looking at what is capable, what is we can do by going inward with a silent mind. That is the contribution the ancient did of finding out what is the interior made of, how thoughts form, how thoughts form these pathways of thoughts that get concretized by us thinking unconsciously. Now, neuroscience and then neuroplasticity telling us if you can do the same thing again and again, you can improve your talent. On the other hand, if you go negative again and again, you can go into depression, right? I use that neuroplasticity very effectively to bring inner resilience into whoever I am touching, my patients, my physicians, other people come to me for help with their burnout or stress, all that. So understanding the human being as a whole, I would say ancient had a much better idea, much better conclusions about it, much better way of being a completely enhanced human being. And modern people, they kind of succumb to their own weaknesses. You don't want a weak runner, right? You want a runner that has the capacity to run faster and longer and real good speed, right? But you want a inner heart and mind that are not hurt, that are not anxious, that are not depressed, that are kind of joyful or enjoying the life, conducting the relationship well and not having dependency on any addictions or any vices. All that was there in the ancient wisdom. That's why I give it so much value. I think I'm without any habits because of that. And I also live in the moment because of that. And I experience this joyful bliss all the time, whether the outward things are good or bad. I always have this contentment of who my inner being is. And that is present in everybody. You only have to touch it by calming your mind, right? So that's what I wanted to bring to the table, because I was trying to tell it to some people, but then they are stuck in their own conclusions. They don't want to listen. But then when they ask me, why do you value ancient wisdom so much? I had to bring in the bigger problems. It's not just about having some comforts and living, it's about what is happening to life on earth, what is happening to the humanity as a whole, what is happening to the earth as a whole. And if you can see it, you cannot say the earth is not in peril. And you cannot say that people are not fighting and destroying each other. Look at what is happening in Gaza and Israel. They are killing each other. So many thousands of them have died. I feel very sorry when I see something like that. Okay, so think on that. Why ancient wisdom is important? What are the conclusions? What are the important things? This harmony, this acceptance as one energy, is this really loving everybody in true sense, all that they have developed and appreciated that too, you know, and then that's why they were like that. So that's my thoughts on ancient wisdom, its importance, and how it is relevant to our present society, to the modern age, and how we can improve the quality of life, not only personally within us, but also family, community. Even when we meet on the new vibe, that's a community, right? Yeah, among all that, having this harmony. that we are all one energy, and really identifying that. And then it's like Christ said, you are your brother's keeper, you know. So he was talking about that oneness all the time, right? So in energy, if you take it, they talk about this harmony, but then they also have these egos, they have these differences, and they want to kill each other for a book, right? And then they want to really create a lot of domination on other people, you know. So that is causing tremendous suffering. That much is a fact. We cannot deny that. So don't be divided, be one. That's what the ancients said, you know. There's much more to that, but I don't want to overwhelm you guys. But anybody interested in this, you can come up and talk to me about it. What do you think about it? What do you feel about it? So that would be nice, you know. Otherwise, we could always communicate on the DMs, whatever you want. But you know, people talk about dialogue, and the people coming and talking about dialogue is where we are not going to argue, but we are going to understand each other, and also really look at our own thinking, our own insights from modern understanding of science, talking about all material, and ancients talking about consciousness is first and the material is next. Okay? Without the conscious, without the awareness, do you want all the material things? Obviously, if I take your awareness away, you don't want anything, right? So you want to be aware, you want to be conscious, you want to be joyful, you want to be happy, you want to be all that, you know. But modern minds get stuck in this mechanical thinking and think that is it. You know, that's why the logic, the argumentation, the intellectual conclusions seem to be very good, and they want to accept only the people who are thinking at the mind level. But this ancient wisdom is beyond mind level. Use the mind, but don't let the mind go all over the direction, and also make mind your friend, and then discover a whole lot of things beyond the mind. That is when mind is thoughtless, in the sense it is not going all over. You are drinking, you are thinking in a conscious manner. After that, you are not clinging to that, you know. In that awareness but not thinking level, you discover a completely new energies within you. That is the conscious being, and there you find we are all one. Okay. So think about what I said. I think it's something very, very important, and it doesn't require money. It doesn't require a lot of intellectual genius capacity and all that. What it requires is that humaneness we have, feeling for other people, feeling for animals, plants, all that, you know. So that is really, really important, you know. The more human we are, the more we can understand this. Okay. Hi, Peter.
Hey, Dr.rao, how are you today?
I am good. How are you?
Good. Can you hear me okay? I'm on my
Yeah.
Bluetooth, so
Yeah, yeah,
great, great. I'm well. I can't complain. A lot of things that you're saying
yeah,
resonate,
yeah,
and I'm starting now to take that journey to awareness and stillness and
yeah,
consciousness,
yeah,
and really mindful living in all areas
yeah.
and at all times.
You know, I have a formula, Peter. I have been talking about it. Is see, when you get up in the morning, we usually engage in the thoughts like I have to do this, I have this agenda. As a physician, I have all the patients coming in clinic and all that, actually. And then
Yes.
once I start going in that direction of thought, and I go on thinking all day, and then I sleep on that. Next day it continues. That's how many doctors are becoming neurotic. So what I told them is, you get up in the morning, don't think so much, but be quiet, silent, and catch that presence in you, that
Yeah.
mindfulness.
I think. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that is the formula I said. Start the day like that, and during the day, be mindful and conscious of whatever you are doing. And at the end of the day, wipe off all the things and then go to sleep in awareness.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm learning to do that slowly but surely. And I
Yeah,
think doctors probably more than any other profession really need to do that because they
yeah,
need to be kind of laser focused on their people. If they're not taking care of
exactly.
themselves, obviously,
Yeah,
we know the
exactly.
results of that. But I really appreciate everything you're saying. You
Yeah,
talked about, the visible and the invisible world, and
yeah,
like everything that we see, if you look around the room or if you're driving, everything you see was once first a thought
yeah, uh,
and not visible.
yeah,
So, and right, because we are physical beings, or we think it's the opposite.
yeah,
And we don't
exactly.
give the consciousness of the unseen enough
Yeah, we human beings are
credit. But
very
thank you.
intelligent people, and we should use that intelligence. So I kind of approach only one patient at a time. I don't worry about the water behind me and after me. I just focus on one patient. That has helped me a lot to be in touch with the patient better, and the patient really feels I'm listening to him because I am paying attention to him completely. So that one particular habit really helped the patient experience and also patient satisfaction. And also, I also felt like I really helped him. Sometimes just listening to them was enough for them because they come 3 months visit and all that. They don't have any other social visit except coming to a doctor. Understanding that and being there for them and asking about small things and trying to be helpful, that makes a lot of difference for them. Once you have the trust, then they feel well healed. From their own inner being, they feel like they are well cared for, and then they do it. Of course, we do that professionally, learn best practices of diagnosis, treatments, and all that are there. But then being there as a human being, not as this big doctor with MDs and other degrees, but human being that is relating to your suffering with a sympathy and compassion. And if you have that heart, you know what the ancient said? You take your mind and go and establish in your heart and think through the heart. That's the essential thing. Think through the heart. Then you are really being heartful. And then you are being aware and using your thought consciously, actively, intentionally to solve problems, right? But that feeling of kindness, the feeling of compassion, that feeling of empathy, that is comes only because not because you have acquired so many degrees, but because you are responding as a human being first, right? I think everybody agrees with that. And that is getting much less because people are, you know, really identifying with their social status or the roles that they have, the status that they have, or the money they have, or the power they have, that kind of thing. But the ancient wisdom shows you how to take about those layers and go back to your inner real human self. And once you establish there in there, then you're not tempted by external things to do things for you, but you are going to identify the needs of others and work for that. So that's what I wanted to say. I got an appointment at 5 o'clock now. It's almost 10 minutes to find. Anybody wants to come in these 10 minutes, be my guest. Otherwise, I will see you back again. As I find the time. But in the morning, I'm doing this morning routine. That's also by design. I want to help people to go and not to suffer stress and burnout at work. How do you do that? You got to keep your body in optimal health and energy, and you got to develop skills of not reacting. That is a deep breathing helps you to settle down your nerves and not the sympathetic tone, but more like a parasympathetic nervous system stimulation, the vagus nerve, rest and digest system. So if you practice that in the morning and then watch your reactions. It's much easier to not to create the chemistry of hormones with a sympathetic overtone by phantom dangers, phantom things that you imagine, all that. Many people don't even think about that, and they go on reacting for small things and big things in a big way. Like somebody said something, they will kind of pluck their hair, like oh, he hurt me, he insulted me, all that, right? And that is causing a lot of stress for people, right? And so in the morning, prepare yourself body wise, mind wise, and your heart at the service, at being a human being, not the commercial consumer and making all these things come to me, the money come to me, and then I'm finding a joy in that. No. Many people, millionaires also, after the money, they'll say that is all temporary. There's no peace of mind. There's no real love and affection there. They identify that very easily. But because we see the life from childhood to all the way people die as physicians, we have perspective like that. So in the morning, prepare your body, your mind, and your heart for the work coming on. And so that you develop the inner resilience of non reaction and being in the flow and attention state all day, and really providing service to people so that pleases your heart, that makes you feel good. Okay. Uh, so with that, this is not like I'm preaching or anything. I'm just telling you how I feel about this and why I'm doing that morning routine every day, where I say seven principles. Four of them you actually do. You actually stretch your body, and you actually deep breathe into the stretches, and you kind of make yourself be here and now by following the effects of the stretches or following the air as it comes in and out of the nose. And the fourth one is you learn to watch your thoughts. Don't get carried away whatever thought comes into your mind. Observe them, be the witness, and let it go. Then you will end up in the conscious being that is beyond these thoughts. But most of the time, people are getting caught in the thoughts and they have no clue what to do with it. They think they are coming by themselves, you know. So those four things you do, and three attitudes of service, attitude of non-reactivity, attitude of being equanimous in our wins and losses. So if you determine these and cultivate this, then you will go and work with attention, work with the mind that is settled down, and work with the complete flow. And that's where you spend very little energy. You enjoy providing the service, and you get the feedback because you are giving unselfishly to people, and they appreciate you, right? So all those things are important in the morning routine. That's why I do that. The other thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to give some hacks of walking. See, my philosophy is proactive wellness. That means you try to be proactive on wellness matters of yours, of how you eat, how you exercise, how you sleep, how you manage your mind. These are the four pillars I always talk about. But you have to be proactive, not somebody tells you that you should not smoke, you should not do this and all that. But you yourself should have the knowledge of what is a good living, how I can live longer, how I can live in joy, and how I can really be well and live longer, not just to exist, right? That means you have enjoying your relationships, you're enjoying your life on the earth, you are enjoying your work, and you're enjoying your friends and all that, or your kids and all that, right? But many people are succumbing to the chronic disease because they are not aware of all the things that they are doing that is leading them to this chronic disease. For example, food. Many people just eat for the taste, and after certain years, they get used to that, and it's very difficult for them to get rid of it. So, what you want to do is you want to see, am I eating really well or not? If I'm not eating well, that will lead to ill health down the line. That's common sense. But the taste, the way we make it like a social thing, all that they think just enjoying few dishes that are tasty, that is life. That is life, but it's not the whole life. There is so much life there. So you can enjoy, but you can use your discretion of what is going to affect your wellness down the line. So this is the proactively acting in life to protect our wellness. So for that, two simple things you can do is you move your body. Walking is a primary example, and while you are moving, keep your mind quiet when it is not needed. Use it when you need it, and then learn to calm it down and go slip back into your stillness of the mind. You can be staying there. You know? That silent mind, that stillness of mind is very valuable thing, especially these days with all the information overload. I'm an informatician. I deal with a lot of information, big data, EMRs, and all that. But I also know what are the ill effects of the excessive information, unnecessary information, negative information. Okay, so all these things you have to deal with actively by being proactively well, by moving the body and keeping the mind silent. So, to that end, I wanted to give how can you be more efficient in the quality of walking you are doing. Thereby, all these people are putting so many steps every day on the walking, right? But at the same time, if you learn these hacks, do them, do the steps and all that. But then do them with these hacks that are really improve your quality of walking, which will yield the effect, results for you much better. So with that good intention, I wanted to do a master class on walking. Yesterday, I think I did the hacks, 12 hours. And I have more to. I have hacks from modern times, and I have from the studies and all that. I have hacks from the ancient times, how they used the walking such a extraordinary instrument for their inner resilience, right? They climbed the mountains, they walked on the sand, they walked in the deep woods, and then they have done so many things. Walking was a primary thing, right? My own grandfather, who lived up to the age of 106, when he was young, at the time they used to call that like a munsif, is like a local, uh, you know, governor or something for our place. He had 20 some villages, and he used to walk to all the villages every day. So especially if you are young and you're doing a lot of exercise, that will come to your aid when you're old. So always moving, always enjoying that activity, and always understanding what are the intricacies, what is the science say, what does the ancient wisdom say about quality of work. How can you do? Some people may not know, if you just get up in the morning and go and walk in the sun, that really stimulates your circadian rhythms, and you become more alert and the appetite comes, and then you really feel good because good hormones flow, right? And then you can come back, and then don't sit for 8 hours and do one half an hour, 1 hour of walking. Do 10 minutes at a time, like a 3 4 times a day, so that you are walking more frequently but less time. Okay, that's important. And also what time of the day you walk. Just after eating you can go walk. And how do you walk, what's the style of walking, that has got to do, you can contract your glutes, and then you can keep your elbows bent and high, go high. That really helps you a lot. And also let the torso move. All that helps with the core muscles and everything. So there are so many tricks and knowledge about walking that is there. And many people run, many people on the treadmill, but then they develop a lot of problems with the weight bearing, fractures in the feet, and or bones weak and all that, right? That happens too. So you can run when you are very young, but later on, once you reach a certain age, you may not be able to run. You can't have that high impact exercise, right? So walking is such a low impact, such a good thing. But I wanted to add quality to the walking, okay, so that you all guys will be benefited. So I'm going to do that master class and look for it and commendation. Or if you don't have the time at the time and I'm doing it, go and listen to the replay. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Peter and Cecilia, for coming up. And anybody else before I close down? Okay, I'll see you again tomorrow morning for my morning routine. Bye bye. Okay. Bye, everybody on the Instagram and YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn.